divine wealth and miraculous blessings, experience supernatural healing through 40 days of hope. In the village of Willowbrook, a whisper of hope began to stir. A single mother named Alice was grappling with darkness. Her dear son, Ethan, was held captive by a merciless illness, his vibrant laughter dimmed to muffled whispers. The doctors, once full of certainty, now spoke in hushed tones, their eyes filled with pity. But Alice was determined, and to the chapel she turned, a warm glow beckoning her like a beacon in the night. With flickering candles illuminating their faces, a group of mothers gathered each evening, hands entwined, lifting their voices to the heavens. "St. Jude," they cried, "patron of the impossible, hear our desperate pleas." The air was thick with faith, each prayer blossoming into a delicate flower of hope, sweetening the night. The mothers committed to 40 days of devotion, where each prayer felt like a whisper directly to the heart of God. One night, as the candles flickered, casting dancing shadows along the walls, a miraculous warmth enveloped the chapel. Light filled the air, and some claimed they could see figures, ethereal forms floating just beyond their sight. Was it the angels, answering their desperate calls? Murmurs rippled through the group, their spirits soaring, ignited with renewed strength. Alice felt a surge in her heart, something profound was stirring. As the days unfolded, financial strains began to weave an unsettling tapestry around Alice's heart. Each flicker of the candle seemed to mirror her mounting worries. Could the electricity stay on? Would there be enough food for dinner? Yet, despite the shadows, she remained, clinging to her faith in the miraculous. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when despair threatened to swallow her whole, their pastor spoke words that pierced through the shadows. Miracles await those who dare to believe. Hope fluttered within Alice like a caged bird yearning to soar free. Her faith was a fragile thread, but it was there nonetheless, woven tightly through every shared prayer and tear. The village held its breath on the final day of prayer. A sacred silence enveloped them as whispers of anticipation buzzed through the crowd, charged with an unyielding energy. Alice, at the helm of this fervent gathering, felt her heart race. Suddenly, a brilliant light erupted within the chapel, illuminating the faces of all present. Angels appeared, shimmering beings of divine love, confirming their relentless prayers. In that breathtaking moment, the ethereal presence transformed the air, and a heavenly balm washed over each person. Awe spread like wildfire, hearts once burdened now danced with hope. The realization dawned, miracles were not just possible, they were happening. As Alice looked at Ethan, love and longing colliding within her heart, she faced the question that hung palpably over Willowbrook: can faith truly unlock the boundaries of the impossible, or is this just the beginning of an extraordinary journey? The days that followed the last prayer were heavy with anticipation. The villagers of Willowbrook held on to a hope that felt both fragile and fierce. Whispers of the miraculous spread like wildfire, fueling the flames of faith within each heart. Alice stood in the chapel every evening, her hands clasped in prayer, her spirit aflame with the possibility of healing. She could still feel the echoes of that divine light, a heavenly melody resonating in the depths of her soul. Yet, as days turned to nights, doubts began to creep back in. The shadows loomed larger, darkening the corners of her heart. She could hear Ethan's labored breaths echoing in their home. The sound was a constant reminder of the battle they faced. How long could he endure this suffering? The question clawed at her, threatening to pull her from the heights of her faith down into despair. But just as Alice confronted the weight of uncertainty, she stumbled upon a precious moment at the chapel. A little girl, Lucy, no more than 7 years old, stood before the altar, eyes closed, tears streaming down her rosy cheeks. She whispered softly, "Dear God, I believe you can heal. I know you can make my friends well again." It was so pure, so innocent, that Alice felt her heart melt. In that moment, she realized the power of childlike faith, a trust so deep it carried the essence of divine connection. Moved by this sight, Alice approached Lucy, kneeling beside her. "You believe so much," Alice said, her voice trembling with emotion. "How do you hold on to that faith?" Lucy opened her eyes wide, surprise flashing across her face. "Because God loves us. He won't leave us alone," she said, her words a balm to Alice's aching spirit. The encounters in the chapel began to change. Each prayer meeting filled with a sense of divine expectancy. Others joined Alice and Lucy, each bringing their own burdens. There were stories of lost jobs, lonely nights, and broken families suffering that needed healing. Together, they formed a tapestry of trust, woven with threads of hope, each color vibrant and alive with possibilities. On the evening of the 13th day, Alice felt a pang of urgency. When she arrived at the chapel, it was bursting with light, illuminated from the inside out as if drenched in heavenly radiance. The village gathered, pulling together their shared anxieties, transforming them into powerful prayers that echoed through the rafters. Suddenly, a profound moment of silence settled over the crowd, as though time stood still. Then, the pastor spoke, his voice rich with authority and conviction. "Today, we shall witness the manifestation of our prayers, a glimpse of divine promise." His words ignited an electric energy, stirring every heart within the chapel. Alice's pulse quickened, she felt as though the very air thrummed with anticipation, and then, in a moment that felt surreal, light began to shimmer in the air, enveloping Ethan's beloved figure seen through the chapel door. Every ounce of Alice's being resonated with a thundering whisper: this was it. Angels were attending their gathering, heralding an extraordinary transformation. As they turned their heads, Alice could hardly believe her eyes. Ethan appeared, thin and wan but filled with an otherworldly glow, the weight of his illness lifting with each step he took. The village gasped, tears cascading from incredulous eyes, whispers of disbelief mingling with shouts of joy. Could it be? Was he healed? The chapel erupted with an awestruck roar. Yet the question lingered in the air, heavy with mystery and awe: what would this newfound miracle mean for their village? With hearts beating in sync, they faced a new chapter of hope, filled with unresolved possibilities. Now, as Alice looked at Ethan, she realized one singular truth: what happens next will be even more astonishing than any healing. What path lay ahead, where faith would lead them into uncharted territory? The atmosphere in the chapel pulsed with a divine energy, as if heaven itself had stepped closer to earth. Alice watched Ethan take a hesitant step, marveling at the glowing warmth that surrounded him. Murmurs of wonder rippled through the crowd, each face reflecting a blend of awe and belief, blinking away disbelief. As Ethan reached Alice, she could hardly contain the bubbling joy within her. His eyes met hers, pools of gratitude and hope. "Alice," he whispered, his voice soft yet vibrant with life. "I feel reborn." Suddenly, she was enveloped in his embrace, feeling the warmth of his spirit returning. It was as if they both floated in that moment, untethered by the chains of despair that had bound them before. The pastor stepped closer to them, a radiant smile illuminating his features. "This," he began, his voice echoing the weight of their miraculous experience, "is only the beginning." The congregation erupted with cheers, their faith solidifying in a collective heartbeat that resonated within the walls of the chapel. They were witnesses to something grand, a miracle that turned doubt into wonder. But then, amid the celebration, Alice's heart tugged with a new weight. What do we do now? She contemplated, anchoring herself to the resounding joy starting to transform into uncertainty. Would the healing alone be enough? As if reading her thoughts, the pastor addressed the congregation once more. Healing is not merely an end. It is a call to action. His voice rang with assurance, empowering them. Let us use this blessing to serve others, to uplift our neighbors still in chains of sorrow. Let this miracle inspire a movement of love throughout Willowbrook. Ethan nodded, his face glowing with determination. We must reach out, he said, his voice steady. So many are lost, just as I was. If God has lifted this burden from me, then I have a duty to share that light. The clarity of his purpose emanated from him, igniting a spark in others, urging them to contemplate their paths. The church became a center of vibrant energy, buzzing with ideas. They began organizing ways to help those who had walked through their own times of trial, community meals to feed the hungry, gatherings to support those grieving, and prayer groups to uplift the brokenhearted. Each heart in the village ignited with the mission of sharing the hope they had received. As Alice marveled at the outpouring of love and connection, she recognized that this was not just about Ethan's healing. This was a call for their community to rise together, to embrace life with open hearts. Words of encouragement flowed freely, lives began to intertwine, weaving a fabric of unity across Willowbrook. But even amid all this, threads of doubt clung to the edges of Alice's mind. Could this artwork of faith sustain itself? With challenges lurking and shadows of despair still whispering, would they have the strength to continue fighting the daily battles? The reminders of pain were still fresh. In the days that followed, the village began to transform, but Alice knew they were only stepping into a larger story. Every smile shared, every hand held in prayer, was a step into the unknown, a question hanging in the air. What would they discover as they journeyed forth? What further miracles awaited them, waiting to unfold in the tapestry of faith and testimony? The mystery lingered in her heart, intertwining with every beat, drawing her towards something greater, the ultimate truth of unwavering faith. Would they be able to embrace it together, to see the wondrous path God laid before them? The answers shimmered just beyond the horizon, calling them toward a destiny steeped in divine possibilities. In the days that followed, the energy in Willowbrook was electric. It seemed each moment shimmered with the promise of something new and miraculous. Alice found herself swept up in the excitement of change, yet a whisper of apprehension sometimes brushed against her thoughts. Could their rejuvenated spirit sustain momentum against the trials that life would certainly bring? Gathered in the chapel once more, a group of villagers brainstormed ideas on how best to spread their newfound light. Some suggested organizing prayer walks through the neighborhood, while others leaned toward creating a hope wall, where anyone could post positive messages for those struggling. Ethan stood at the center of it all, his heart ablaze. "Let us make this a movement," he urged, his voice ringing with conviction. "Each act of kindness is a step towards healing. We can't just keep this to ourselves, we need to share it with everyone." The room buzzed with agreement. Alice watched Ethan's passion fuel ideas like flames, kindling hope within those gathered. Yet, a nagging thought laced her perspective. Would they have the resources? Could they find the support necessary to reach everyone in need? As if reading her mind once more, the pastor stepped forward, his gentle presence calming those around him. "Remember, friends," he said, placing a reassuring hand on Ethan's shoulder, "God does not call the equipped, He equips the called. When we step forward in faith, the means to carry forth our mission will be revealed to us." The truth of his words poured into Alice's heart, warming it beyond measure. There was comfort in their shared calling, not just to heal but to uplift every weary soul they encountered. They formed committees for everything from meal preparations to organizing prayer sessions, and the community rallied behind them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, colors of gold and violet filled the sky, reminiscent of the dawn of a new era in Willowbrook. Alice felt alive with anticipation, her spirit lifted like a kite dancing in the wind. That evening, they all gathered for a community dinner at the chapel. Laughter mingled with shared stories around a long table adorned with homemade dishes. It was a feast of love, faith, and connection, nourishing not just their bodies but their hearts as well. After dinner, they circled as one, joining hands and bowing their heads in prayer. The pastor led them in lifting all past sorrows to the Lord, releasing each burden. Alice felt a weight she didn't realize she had carried begin to dissolve. "God, show us your path," he prayed, his voice resonating with fervor. "May we recognize our purpose as stewards of your love. Bless us as we extend our hands to those in darkness, that they may find light." As the prayer rolled over them like a gentle tide, Alice ventured to peek through her eyes, finding the warmth of light reflected in her neighbors' faces. The sweetness of this communion filled her with immense hope. Yet, in the recesses of her mind, a question remained: what heavy chains might they still face? Would they, together, continue to shine brightly, even under the weight of trials unforeseen? Later that night, as Alice lay in bed, the echoes of their evening danced in her consciousness, nudging her to ponder deeper truths. If God's grace had transformed their hearts, what else awaited them? When they stepped into tomorrow, what revelations lay in store that could defy all expectations? With these thoughts swirling around her, she drifted into sleep, her heart quickening with the thrill of the unknown. Little did she know, the winds of change were gathering strength, stirring a new chapter on the horizon, ready to reveal the magnitude of faith tested amid the trials ahead. What lay ahead for Willowbrook? A journey not made of mere miracles, but a deeper calling toward transformation awaited them. Would they be bold enough to embrace it? The dawn of a new day broke over Willowbrook, casting a golden glow across the rooftops. Birds sang melodies of praise, and the air hung rich with potential. Alice awoke with a sense of purpose that hummed through her veins. Today felt different. It was as if the universe was poised on the edge of something divine. After breakfast, she joined Ethan and the others at the chapel. On the walls, the hope wall they envisioned was springing to life with bright papers and heartfelt messages. Each note was a testament, a reminder that no one was truly alone in their struggles. The sight filled Alice with joy, and she added her own note, a simple declaration of faith: every heart has the strength to heal. As they gathered to discuss their first prayer walk, a wave of excitement rippled through the team. They planned the route to take them through the heart of Willowbrook, right past the old park where the laughter of children once rang like bells. Alice's heart ached for the lost joy that place once held, but a vision stirred within her, a vision of laughter returning. Ethan's enthusiasm was contagious. He spoke of the power of prayer, of their shared energy capable of lifting the weights off even the heaviest hearts. We will walk this path together, hand in hand, praying for our neighbors, inviting them to join us in this light. His voice soared, and the crowd responded with an affirming cheer. Yet, amidst the ranks of hopeful villagers, Alice felt a flicker of doubt. Did they really have the strength to impact everyone? What if their prayers changed nothing? But then she remembered the pastor's words, and she steadied herself. It's not about the size of our efforts, but the heart behind them, she whispered to herself, anchoring herself in faith. As the prayer walk began, the community gathered in the chapel for a final blessing. The pastor raised his arms, his presence commanding yet gentle. Let our voices rise as one. May our prayers be seeds sown in faith, growing into fields of hope throughout Willowbrook. Once outside, they took a deep breath, united under the vast sky. They started walking down the sunlit streets, hands clasped. As they prayed, Alice felt an exhilarating connection among them, a current of love circulating through each person. Suddenly, they stopped in front of an old woman sitting on her porch, the lines of her face sighing with memories. She looked up, startled, but her eyes softened as they locked with Alice's. Without a thought, Alice stepped closer. Hello, ma'am. We're just doing a prayer walk today. Can we pray for you? The woman smiled, a small, tentative spark of warmth. Oh, would you? It's been a while since anyone has stopped by. As they gathered around her, praying fervently for comfort and joy to fill her home, Alice felt something shift in the air. It was in this intimate moment, the simplicity of their service, that she understood. They were indeed bridging gaps, illuminating darkness even with their humble act of kindness. With countless houses still waiting to be touched, they continued down the street, each prayer echoing like pebbles dropped into water, creating ripples of blessings. The laughter of children suddenly erupted from the park they passed, reminding her of the joy the community so desperately needed. But as they rounded the corner, Alice spotted familiar faces, strained and shadowed. A family known for their struggles stood outside their home, whispers of despair hanging heavily in the air. Would their journey be enough to break these chains? Alice felt an inner stirring. No one should be left behind. We need to stop, she announced to the group, her heart racing with determination. This is where we need to be. Will they embrace the chance to reach even those who may resist? Would their faith penetrate the deepest shadows surrounding them? The answer awaited them just beyond that doorway, and Alice sensed that this moment would set forth a transformation they never saw coming. What deeper revelation of strength and community love could unfold through their unwavering devotion? It became clear this was not just a prayer walk, but a divine invitation to a journey far beyond what they had imagined. Could they open their hearts wide enough to embrace every possibility? As the group approached the weathered door of the family's house, an air of anticipation pulsed around them. Alice's heart thudded in her chest, but it was not fear. It was something deeper, an inkling that something miraculous could take place here. She could feel Ethan's presence behind her, a supportive beacon of strength, urging her onward. The family stood together in a fragile circle, eyes downcast, as if they were shadows of themselves. Their worn-out clothes told tales of struggles, their stillness echoed unanswered cries for help. "Let us pray," Alice declared, a gentle yet powerful authority in her voice. They stepped closer, forming a protective barrier around the family. "Lord, we come to you as vessels of your love," Alice began. "We ask for your healing touch to descend upon this family, who are burdened by their trials." Her voice grew stronger with each word. She could feel the tension begin to dissipate. Ethan echoed her prayer, voice lifting higher, as if calling for the very heavens to open up. As the words flowed, she saw the mother's brow begin to soften, lines of worry easing. Some of the children peeked up, their big eyes searching for hope, resonating with the kindness enveloping them. Alice reached out, clasping the mother's hand tightly, an anchor of faith. She could sense the warmth of love traveling through her touch, weaving invisible threads of connection. Just as they finished their prayer, a soft breeze fluttered through the open door. It felt like a divine caress, brushing against their skin, carrying whispers of peace. "Thank you," the mother breathed, tears glistening like dew on her cheeks. "Thank you so much. We've felt so alone for so long." Her vulnerability broke through the silence, and the group felt the heaviness of despair lift slightly. From that moment, invisibly, a shift began to unfold. It was as though the prayer had planted seeds in the heart of the home, a promise of renewal. Each family member began to share stories of their struggles, but much to Alice's surprise, they also spoke of moments of joy amidst their challenges. Laughter erupted as one child recounted a silly mishap with a pet, refreshing the atmosphere, illuminating darkness with light. Alice smiled, witnessing resilience bloom in every word. Every shared memory added color to the canvas of their lives, and the weight of hopelessness seemed to melt away. She felt her own heart swell, filled with gratitude and joy. Finally, before they left, the mother looked around at the group with newfound resolve. "Can we continue to walk together? This felt like a blessing I never expected. Can we pray together again?" "Yes," Ethan replied eagerly. Joy spread across the faces surrounding them. They agreed to meet again, future gatherings already forming in their hearts, knitting their lives together. As they walked back toward the chapel, an undeniable energy enveloped them. Each step radiated faith as they laughed and talked about the seeds of hope they were sowing in their community. The sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over Willowbrook, and the world felt brighter, almost alive, filled with divine potential. But amidst their laughter, Alice's thoughts buzzed with unanswered questions. What else could they cultivate together? What connections yet waited to be formed? The echoes of the family's stories danced in her head, a tapestry of pain and joy woven together. A gnawing thought flickered, could their humble prayers spark something bigger? As they reached the chapel, a shimmering light played against the old stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the floor. It felt like God's presence was peeking through, inviting them to pursue more than just healing. The mystery of what was to come tightened its grip on Alice's spirit. What if the echoes of their prayers could ripple beyond Willowbrook? What if they could unleash a forgotten power, turning their community into a beacon for all? With hopeful hearts, they entered the chapel, but not without that lingering question hanging in the air: could this truly be just the beginning of a divine movement? What astonishing plans might await them if they embraced the call to go further? The chapel was filled with a warm glow as Alice and the others settled into their familiar spots, the scent of polished wood mingling with the lingering aroma of the evening's prayer. The group formed their circle once again, a tapestry of trust and connection, thoughts buzzing with eagerness. Alice felt the gentle pulse of hope in the air, a sensation that reminded her of the first spring buds breaking through the cold ground. "Tonight, let us share what we felt today," Ethan suggested, his eyes alight with enthusiasm. "What did we experience while praying with that family?" Alice felt her heart pound in anticipation. Each person took turns, sharing their thoughts briefly, yet with immense depth. From the father's gratitude to the touching laughter of the children, each story built upon the next, a wave of assurance washing over them. It was more than just recollection, it was a celebration of the divine presence they had felt. I felt like God wrapped his arms around all of us, one woman chimed in, her eyes closed as if trying to relive the moment. It was like everything that burdened us was lifted. Yes. Alice breathed, excitement bubbling within her. That's it. We created a safe space where his love could flow freely. The group nodded, a gentle hum of agreement resounding in the air. As time went on, Alice noticed a shift in her spirit. There was a tug at her heart, pulling her toward a deeper understanding of what they were being called to do. What we did today was powerful, she said, her voice steady. But what if our prayers could reach beyond those four walls? What if we could reach the whole community? Ethan leaned forward, his brows furrowing with contemplation. Imagine if others knew they could find the same hope, the same healing? We could create a ripple effect. Alice could see others begin to light up at the thought, their hearts aligning with an irresistible desire to serve and uplift. Let us invite everyone. Let us pray for all the families in need. They deserve to feel the same warmth we felt today. The suggestion electrified the room, igniting a spark of anticipation. Their voices danced together, visions blooming in the shared excitement. It was a calling, a journey destined to weave them closer not just to the community but also to each other. Just then, an unexpected event emerged, the chapel door creaked open. A stranger stood framed in the doorway, bathed in the soft light from the candles inside. With wild eyes and a weary heart, she stepped forward, her voice a desperate whisper. I heard there was healing here. The group turned as one. In that moment, all thoughts of their own plans faded. Alice felt a shift, a divine moment unfolding. Just as they had prayed for their neighbors, an opportunity to extend their love to a stranger landed before them. What's your name? Alice asked, stepping forward with compassion. Lena, she replied, her voice shaky yet resolute. I've lost so much. I thought I was too far gone but I wasn't sure where else to go. The heaviness in her tone struck deep within the hearts of the gathered group, a reminder that healing wasn't just needed for the familiar. Together, let us pray, Lena, Alice urged, extending her hand toward the deep shadows of the soul yearning for light. As they encircled Lena in prayer, Alice felt the spirit thickening around them, a living presence like never before. In that moment, she understood, this was their mission. It wasn't merely about healing, it was about weaving together lives, bringing light to the darkest corners. But as the prayer swelled, swelling like the rising tide, Alice felt another pull, a whisper beckoning her deeper still. What awaited them beyond this night? Was this merely one thread in a much larger tapestry? With faith surging, she asked silently within her heart, what divine currents lay hidden ahead, waiting for them to explore? The answer lingered in the atmosphere, vibrant and electric, inviting them into the unknown. As the prayer enveloped them, a serene energy filled the chapel, transforming it into a sanctuary of hope. Each heartfelt word acted like a thread, knitting their spirits closer together. Alice felt Lena's burdens begin to shift, as if they were tangible scars being soothed by the collective faith in the room. When they finally opened their eyes, Lena's face was alight, a flicker of something profound stirring in her gaze. She looked around at the faces surrounding her, some wet with tears, others radiant with compassion. Thank you, I feel lighter already, she whispered, her voice thick with disbelief and gratitude. A silence fell over them, the kind that invited reflection. It was almost palpable, this shared understanding of divine intervention. Alice looked around, and in that moment, she was struck by the enormity of it all. They were not just a group of friends, they were a family, called together by a purpose greater than themselves. Ethan broke the stillness first, his voice steady and strong. Lena, what brings you to this place tonight? We believe healing is possible and we want to help. With a tremor in her hands, Lena shared her story, a tale woven with loss, pain, and disconnection from family. I used to feel like I had it all, she said, her voice soft and trembling. But life can change in an instant. I lost my job, my home, and the love of my life. I wandered aimlessly, too afraid to ask for help until tonight. I heard whispers about this chapel, this community. And in my heart, I just hoped. Those last words hung in the air, laden with a heavy truth. Hope, Alice thought, was often carried on the wings of vulnerability. It was in the laying bare of one's soul that true connection unfolded. "We're all carrying something," a gentle voice from the back spoke up, filled with quiet strength. "We gather here to share our burdens, but also our blessings. You're welcome here, Lena. We want to walk alongside you." As they encouraged Lena, a wave of understanding rippled through the group. It dawned on them that their answer was not merely to share their stories but to actively seek out the stories of others in need. Each prayer they offered created an opportunity for healing, not just for individuals but for the entire community. What if we turned this circle into a beacon of hope? Alice pondered aloud. We could organize prayer sessions in parks, at schools, wherever people need encouragement. Excitement bubbled up again among the attendees. Ideas flowed like a river, each suggestion more vibrant than the last, transforming the initial meeting into a call to action. Yet, as the energy soared, a quiet part of her spirit held a deep question. Would they truly be ready for the challenges they might face? The atmosphere shifted as the group hunched forward, leaning into the divine inspiration ignited within them. Yet Alice sensed a deeper understanding waiting to unfold. What if this is just the beginning? She thought, the words echoing around her mind. What more was God preparing for them beyond their humble chapel? As they concluded the evening's gathering, Alice couldn't shake the feeling that Lena was the first of many. There was an adventure ahead, one that blended love, faith, and the unknown together. With the night sky twinkling through the window, she felt that whisper again, inviting her to take the next step. What other lives could they touch? What challenges awaited them in this mission of healing? With a sigh of gratitude, Alice realized that tomorrow held infinite possibilities and perhaps there lingered a divine invitation just waiting to be embraced. What awaited them just around the corner? The morning sun crept through the chapel windows, casting warm golden rays that danced on the wooden floor. Alice entered with a heart brimming with anticipation. The events of the previous night still played in her mind, the vibrant energy, the unguarded stories. She could feel a stirring deep within her spirit, a whispered promise that today would bring more light. As she made her way to the small altar, she noticed Lena already there, deep in prayer. Something beautiful and transformative shifted in Lena's posture. She appeared rooted and confident, a stark contrast to the woman who had arrived the night before. Alice approached her gently, not wanting to break the sacred moment. "Good morning, Lena," she said softly. Lena turned, her face radiant, a smile breaking like dawn across her features. "Good morning, Alice. I was just thinking about how much hope this place brings. It's like a balm for the soul." Alice felt a swell of joy at Lena's words. They settled into a rhythm of sharing their thoughts about faith and recovery throughout the morning. As more people arrived for their gathering, the warmth spread. There was an eagerness in the air that buzzed with divine potential. Ethan opened the gathering with a single question that pierced through the chatter. What if today we each wrote down one thing we hope to see transformed in our lives and brought it before God? The idea settled like a gentle wave, inviting each heart to reflect. As they took turns sharing, pieces of vulnerability unfolded. Alice listened intently as different voices echoed hopes for family reconciliation, health improvements, and renewed faith in personal paths. Each testimony resonated with heavenly echoes, weaving an invisible thread among them. Alice weighed her own hopes. She longed not only for the growth of the chapel community but for personal strength amid uncertainty. The challenges they faced were real, yet the light of their collective faith could not be dimmed. With each prayer that spiraled upward, Alice felt doors opening to miracles she could barely fathom. "We need each other," Lena said, her voice steady and bright. "There's strength in the stories we share. They heal us and connect us." Nods of agreement floated around the room, hearts swelling with the truth of her words. And then, it happened. Alice felt a gentle nudge deep within, as if the divine was whispering encouragement. "Let us plan a 40-day prayer journey," she proposed, inspired by her earlier idea. "A challenge that brings us together, where we focus on each prayer request daily. Let us support each person in our community." The response was immediate and bubbling. Excitement melded with a yearning for something greater than themselves. They began discussing how they would structure this journey, weaving prayer into their daily lives. It transformed from a single idea into collective action, igniting flames of hope. But as the planning unfolded, Alice couldn't shake the growing realization that inspiration also brought inevitable trials. What if the enemy strikes hard? She mused silently. What if doubts creep in? She knew that every step toward healing could come with strife. The atmosphere, though lively, began to hum with tension as they acknowledged potential roadblocks. Yet through that tension, Alice sensed a deeper alignment. Perhaps their unity could become their strength, she thought. Together, these challenges could also become stepping stones on their journey of faith. As they settled into the details of their mission, Alice felt a promise flickering. What other miracles can we anticipate? She whispered under her breath. The answer lay wrapped in divine mystery, igniting within everyone a deep, unexplainable hope. As the gathering closed, Alice caught Lena's eye. They exchanged knowing glances, and in that moment, an unspoken bond formed, a commitment to each other, to their journey, and to the many lives they were yet to touch. What awaited them next in this sea of hope and healing? The horizon shimmered with possibilities, whispering a sacred invitation to all. What miracles would arise in the coming days? The village of Willowbrook buzzed with newfound energy as the sun peeked over the horizon, casting golden rays across the streets. The air felt charged with expectation and spiritual resonance. Alice awoke feeling lighter, more alive than ever. Today was the start of the 40-day prayer journey, a collective promise to lift each other up toward the divine. As she walked to the chapel, she could hear the laughter of children, a sweet melody draping the town like a warm embrace. The chapel, once a mere shelter for prayers, now bloomed with hope, each wall echoing the stories of faith. Inside, as Alice approached the altar, she found the gathered community bathed in soft light. Each face held a particular glow, reflecting the purpose pulling them together. Lena was there, her spirit radiating a newfound resilience, inspiring all who looked her way. Ethan stood at the front, engaging the crowd with a compassionate fervor. Let us commit to these 40 days as a family, he declared, his voice clear and resonant. Each prayer is a thread connecting our hearts. His enthusiasm ignited a spark in the room, and Alice felt the collective heartbeat of their community reverberate like a joyful hymn. As they shared their intentions, each person spoke their requests. Some yearned for healing, others sought reconciliation, while a few desired clarity in life's direction. Each word, an offering, floated toward the heavens, glistening like stars against the backdrop of the night. We'll pray for each need daily, Alice confirmed, her eyes shining like beacons of faith. Let us also learn how to support each other physically, how we can act in love and service. With excitement building, they divided into smaller groups to share practical ideas. The chapel transformed into a hub of love-infused activity. They mapped routes for prayer walks, planned community meals, and organized outreach to the local shelters. The waves of altruism surged, and soon the air around them felt saturated with divine promises of transformation. But tides shift, and with every rising opportunity came whispers of discontent, unsettling doubts that threatened to unravel their resolve. Alice, attuned to the undercurrents, found herself addressing the elephant in the room. Are we prepared for challenges? What if our faith is tested? She posed gently. I think it's in those challenges we discover who we are, Lena replied, her voice steady, hands clasped tightly. If we are truly bonded as a community, we'll rise together. Nods of agreement wove through the gathering, the ember of commitment sparking brighter. With the vision set, they began their journey, kneeling to pray for strength and unity. As the community placed their hands over the altar, pure energies flowed, a surge of faith cascading over them like a waterfall of grace. They stood up, hearts brimming, each vision blooming like flowers opening to morning light. Days turned into weeks. In this sacred cocoon of devotion, they experienced challenges, illnesses, losses, doubts, but with every trial, they committed even deeper. Alice felt goosebumps as they rallied around each other, prayers weaving patterns of resilience that fortified their bonds. The entire village transformed, hearts began to soften, isolation cracked open, and strangers joined hands as members of the same family. Then came a day when a heavy storm passed through Willowbrook. The rain fell fiercely, proclaiming a promise of cleansing. But in its wake came flooding, leaving destruction in its heartbreaking path. The village shuddered, and Alice watched, horrified. Disruption disrupted everything they built. "We must act, friends," she implored her fellow villagers, her voice a rallying cry. "Our faith is not just for sunshine. We're called to be a light in this storm." The room fell quiet, uncertainty lingering. Yet, inspired by the very prayers they weaved together, they launched into action. Each heart pounded with purpose as they organized teams collecting supplies, offering shelter, and extending hands to those in distress. United in their mission, they flooded the affected areas with supplies and solace. Days blended into one another, all hands working toward one goal: restoration through community. With grace in their hearts and urgency in their steps, they rebuilt homes and spirits, woven with compassion. In every touched life was a thread of divine connection, a fabric of love that laid new life upon the remnants left by the storm. Then one evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of lavender and rose, Alice stood before her fellow villagers in the chapel. They gathered to share not only tales of survival but also testimonies of miracles. Individuals once shackled by despair now thriving in the light. A woman, her eyes shining with gratitude, shared, "I lived in isolation, but through this storm, I found family." The congregation erupted in applause, laughter intermingling with tears of joy. As the night unfolded, testimonies wove together, each person's story illuminating paths of healing. This is the beauty born from the ashes, Alice realized. Faith not only binds us in hearts but transforms possibilities into reality. With each voice lifted, Alice emphasized a poignant truth: miracles are a collective creation. They arise from our willingness to act, to believe, and to lean into one another. This is just the beginning. Together, we can create a movement that echoes beyond our village. Her words hung in the air like whispers of angels, infusing the very rafters with hope. They were not just Willowbrook anymore, they had become a living testament to divine miracles. One heartbeat, one voice, one prayer at a time. As they left the chapel with hearts swelling, they knew this journey did not end. It welcomed them into a greater divine mission, one that calls them to reach beyond. Together, they would shine brighter, break barriers, and transform the world around them. Now is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories of faith. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share the light. Comment with your reactions and testimonies about this. Ending your voice matters, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. True servants of God understand the importance of supporting this channel. Don't wait even one more second.